Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cross Connect. Once again, this is the channel for you guys. The channel that is sharing the information between two communities across the pond. The pond being the Atlantic Ocean, and basically the French community that is France, Belgium, Switzerland, and naturally the beautiful continent of Africa, where we are all coming from. Even if you are white or black or brown like me, we're all coming from Africa. Oh yes. And yes, and on the other side of the pond is North American countries, US, Canada. And basically, well, we could name part of North America is Mexico, but you know, I'm based in Montreal and I'm covering much more what's happening in Canada than in US. Occasionally, I could touch Mexico, but today it will be about the proof that are underlying the existence of God, and this is something that I would like to discuss. Following, in the past few days, we've been quite shocked or sometimes amused, depending who you are, by the image coming from the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games in France, in Paris, and quite shocking to see that kind of content. Nonetheless, this is what we're going to start with. What we're going to start with, it's going to be, you know, the images that we got from this Olympic Games, opening ceremony. So let me share with let me share with you this first level of information, and we'll start from there. Okay, so you see the screen, it's coming up, and there it is. You see, when I see all that, I see the depravity of humans. How can we go so low? How can we go to that level of deprivation? It's really shocking, really. You see, when we're trying to have a life. Pablo from Leonardo da Vinci. So now this is what I wanted to share about this. Basically, people were quite shocked about this, and were really disappointed. Shout out to all my friends and family members that are on the Jewish side, Muslim side, and also Christian. And I'm really glad that some of my Muslim brothers raised their voices against these kind of images, saying that they were quite shocked and opposed to the usage of the image of Jesus Christ, one of the prophets. And for Christian, that would be much more than that. But I'm really satisfied to see people, reacting to this and being, not necessarily reacting well, or, passively reacting to the situation and what happened in Paris for this, you know, opening ceremony of the Olympic Games. Okay, so now what I'd like to do, as I said, I want to tackle something a little bit different. And as I said before in my introduction of the Cross Connect channel, the goal is not to tap into content that would be generating a lot of likes, a lot of comments, but more to share something that we all have in common. Okay. Throughout the history of man, we've seen humans that were trying always to explain the places in the universe. trying to understand what was beyond what they were. They were gathering, they were hunters, they were, people that were trying to survive at some point, right? But we know that in the distant past, there were, grand civilization like the Greeks, like the Romans, the Egyptians, and also there was some rumor about Sumer and the relationship with the aliens called the Anunnaki, right? So I don't want to dive into that, but much more about the explain what are for me the elements that are proving the existence of God. Okay. And now it could be a debate, or it could be something that people fundamentally believe this is what is making the proofs of God existence. But to me, it's much more something that we need to reiterate that behind, what we are as made of flesh and blood, humans are always trying to find explanation of what went beyond themselves, right? So every single time you see people acting a certain way before they die, they try to reflect on the metaphysical perspective, right? So, so who are we really, and also where are we coming from? This is really the question that we will try to to address in this video today. Okay, are we just enhanced animals? Are we just responding to basic needs and desires? Is that really what we're seeing on that video? People with desires and needs to be, showing themselves, showing depravity and showing lack of decency whatsoever, and trying to, change people and to change the methodology. I heard one of the guy that was contributing to the making of that ceremony in Paris. He said he wanted to change society on his own. He wanted to change society and wanted to change the mindset of people. You imagine that when you have kids, when you're trying to build something, try to create some kind of an appeal beyond who we are to touch something that is beyond who we are and beyond imagination. It means, you know, God and try to understand what is beyond our realm, right? So let me share with you what we're going to talk about today. And this is really, I guess, interesting in my perspective. But this is something I'm glad that we can tackle with all of you today. Okay, so today we're gonna have 5 parts. We're gonna have the first part is gonna be, what about the universe? Is that a planned set of action or a random set of events? So do we believe that this is all random, or do we believe that there's a higher level of intelligence that would dictating these events? Okay. Second part, the building blocks of life. Can we estimate that DNA be a template for life? Meaning that you have a higher level of intelligence putting a template and providing some delineation that will be highlighting plants, animals, human beings. Okay. Third part is going to be, are we really unique? If we take humans being strangely unique through fingerprints, reproductive capabilities, brain being wired for higher perspectives, are we really unique as human? Can we really define some clear differences between ourselves, right? Beyond, besides the point that we are all part of the same community, we're all having something in common, this beautiful planet. Now, human souls. Part 4, it's going to be the human souls. Are still under study at the moment. Can we really say this is the way that we can define that what is making us human? And if if the soul exists, where does it come from? Is that a real design behind it, or is it something like a random effect? Okay, part of what makes us made of atoms, blood, water, and so forth. What about near-death experience? That will be the part 5. Near-death experience. Can we all say that we all share near-death experiences? Are they all the same? Do they have the same kind of characteristics or the way that people are defining them? And this is something that we'll talk about. Okay. So thanks very much, and let's dive into it. Okay, shall we? Thank you. Hello everyone, we back and ready for part one. So part one, the question was the universe. Is it a planned set of actions or a random set of events? And this is something we have to ask ourselves. As this question is quite interesting to it's an interesting point to address. Okay. If you bear with me, this is something I'd like to discuss with you. The current consensus in the scientific community, they all agree that the Big Bang is this event that was taking place several billion years ago, where we have a condensed soup of energy that was exploding to expand the universe as at tremendous speed and reach and that is continues today to expand at tremendous speed, because we now they see the convergence of the movement towards a certain level of point and at speed close to the speed of light, like galaxies travel in space close to the speed of light. So now, if you think about it, first of all, there's the Big Bang. Okay, that is a bowl of soup, and there's nothing, and out of this burst of energy expansion, there's the creation of everything. So now, as I was saying, so there's this consensus that exists in the scientific community about the Big Bang, being this condensed soup of energy that is exploding and to expand the universe at tremendous speed and reach, which continues today with a certain level of now continues to expand with less voracity, I would say, but still continues to expand nonetheless. So now we can still see, the galaxies that are expanding towards a certain direction and close to the speed of light. We see different galaxies that are moving, all galaxies that are moving one direction at the speed of light. Now, such an event is a scientific, consensus today. But if you think of it, this ball of energy, there was nothing, and out of nothingness, everything gets created. Doesn't make any bloody sense. How can you create something out of nothing? If there's no laws, how energy can create laws and something that is full of materials, mass, element, raw elements to create matter, and matter get created into tools and elements that we can exploit today, but out of nothing. But the view in that case is, yeah, well, you out of nothing, first of all, which is really weird to me, you creating everything out of this, right? But now, if you have such an event that is extremely complex, and by the way, to expand that randomly, if you take the analogy that was provided to me by a friend that is a scientist, and I myself have a scientific, background, in computer science, but also in physics. Well, naturally, you can imagine that if randomly you take this analogy of the Big Bang, then the analogy that was given to me was, if you take, for example, to understand the complexity of the Big Bang equation, you take all the sand beach in the world, and if you were taking out 1 grain of sand, this will be derailing your equation of the Big Bang. This is the level of complexity that we can understand out of the Big Bang. Extremely complex. Now, if it is on the other side, if it is a planned event or a plan that was driving a certain higher level of intelligence or higher design to create something like this, you would need a great level of knowledge in order to do that. You will need energy density knowledge. You will need quantum gravity knowledge. You will need as well time and scale, because naturally, if you expand the universe, you're creating something, you're creating space and you're creating time. Then in that case, you create new laws in place. Then you will have to anticipate how this will interact with this space that I'm creating, the quantum gravity and the gravity that is established. They establish the pulling effect of the mass in the universe. And you will have to create some kind of a background to support all of this, which is the background. People are saying the dark matter. It could be electricity. There's multiple theories, right? But now you will need to have the complete knowledge of everything in order to do that. Randomly, I don't believe that for a second. Now, let's break it down. Okay, so we have the universe begins with an incredibly hot and dense point, the ball of energy that is exploding and expanding. You have expansion, but throughout expansion, you have the cooling effect. So the system starts to cool down, and you create, by the way, a symmetry breaking point. So basically, as you're facing some kind of a transition, because you're expanding the space and there's less energy, less temperature, you're starting to see a transition from hot to cold. So it's like making the water to freeze to ice, right? So you're creating what they call another theory that is called the Higgs field, and the Higgs field acquire a non-zero value that will be the mass generating effect. So the Higgs field interacting with elementary particles, it can provide mass to them, okay? But not all particles, though. In order to have a balance or an harmony within the universe, you need to have particles with mass and some other particles with no mass. So this is where you see that particles will get mass and some others won't, okay? And this is the principle of the universe, okay? And this is the principle of the Higgs field. And this is now what we're going to see right now.
Particles. The field in question is called the Higgs field. A wave, ripple, or disturbance in that field is therefore called the Higgs boson, or the Higgs particle. This theory suggests that particles do not have a mass of their own. Rather, they get their mass by interacting with the Higgs field. How heavy a particle is will be determined by how strongly a particle interacts with the Higgs field. Electrons, quarks, and other elementary particles interact with the Higgs field in different ways, and therefore have different masses. Photons, however, don't interact with the field, and thus have no mass. Now remember, the existence of the Higgs field was just an idea proposed in 1964 by a few scientists. After initially facing skepticism from the scientific community, the idea was later hailed as a brilliant one. However, for many years, it was exactly that, just an idea. No proof for this field existed. All of that changed on July 4, 2012, when researchers at CERN confirmed the existence of this mass-giving field, because a new particle, the Higgs boson, had been discovered in the Large Hadron Collider, the largest and most powerful particle accelerator in the world. The LHC accelerates protons and charged ions at a speed close to the speed of light, and then smashes them against another beam of elementary particles. This collision produces massive particles, and the Higgs boson is one of them. Unfortunately, the Higgs boson doesn't sit around for long. In fact, it decays into smaller particles almost as soon as it's detected. That's why it is so difficult to detect massive particles.
So now you see, this is why the Higgs boson is actually called the God particle, because it is difficult to apprehend how energy could transform into matter. So then in that case, you need to have some magical transformation. This magic transformation comes with the Higgs boson. It was, supposedly coming here and there, doing some activities to create mass, to create matter, but it wasn't really, couldn't be observed until the CERN could accelerate the particle, and due to the collision would generate automatically the Higgs boson. But actually, when they're saying it disintegrates, it's not really the case. In reality, people even call that appearance. It's like it appears out of the blue and it disappears out of nowhere. It's like it's almost like a magical substance that is taking roots, and the way you interact with the Higgs field, which is still a theory, then in that case you will be given mass. So once again, if you want to have a natural harmony, if you want to have a balance within the universe, what you will do, you will have grander design in order to exactly define how particles will interact with the field and what kind of mass will be given to them. To be given mass will eventually depends on different characteristics, which we don't understand today. And once again, if you want to have balance, how can it be random? There's no balance or no design that can be random. Yes, you see my phone. So my phone has a function. The multiple function into it depends on the hardware and the software. So naturally, what you have in order to have harmony in a way to combine the integration of hardware and software brings a certain level of design where the software will be integrated to take advantage of the hardware. So in order to take advantage of this, you need to have an harmony. This harmony can only be, driven and defined by a grander design, which calls for intelligence. Okay. So this is why now, it's not, people tend to call it God, which is not necessarily, scientific. The scientific community will not call that God, will call that something else, random. We'll call that, execution of random elements driven by atoms, and then, interactions between atoms and particles will generate the random effect that will give balance, which I don't believe. Here is part one. So part one was really about the definition of what makes, not the entire universe. Of course, you understand that it's only a very small part of what makes the universe construct. Nonetheless, this is a very important part. And in 2012, the discovery of the Higgs boson, the so-called God particle, was really important. It was actually received with great excitement. There was, for the first time, in front of the scientific community that is actually working at CERN in Switzerland, there was, for the first time, a lot of journalists and curiosity regarding the so-called God particle, which was for many of us in the religious community and people that have a certain interest in scientific discovery. We were seeing that as a real way to unite at the same time the belief in something like a grand design, with some intelligence and some scientific proof that would be, further defining, the presence and the existence of God. Okay. So thanks very much for your time, and then I'll see you in part number 2.